So I had jalakumbi in my garden, so I just got some here. So if you want to know what jalakumbi is, you can see it here. But this is very small. But when it is actually in a larger pond or a lake, it has a long stem. And then when it dries, the community in Kochitapu, the Sardar community, they actually harvest this every year, and they dry it and then convert it into art, craft, and these sort of materials. And it's quite interesting for me to see that how a foreigner coming to Nepal and going to Kochitapu and then learning about this new material, and then how she has actually conceptualized this material into a very contemporary art form. And when you look at the nature of jalakumbi, it's kind of, I call it a virus. It invades the pond and lake. It almost makes it kind of stagnant, the water flow underneath. And this kind of reflex thing is actually, not in use, and you feel that this whole installation is almost invading the building. And this is quite interesting for me. And also, I think, being in Nepal, we have like 123 ethnic communities, 125 different dialects, and we don't know all the communities very well. We don't know their art, culture, tradition, craft, jatras, religion. We don't know anything. And then for me, it is very interesting for a foreigner to come and identify this material and how she has actually converted this material into a contemporary art form. And this is such a beautiful example. And I think this is the best way to kind of celebrate indigenous knowledge, indigenous craft, and this is actually a celebration of indigenous material and the craft and the knowledge that has been passed from generation to generation. And I would really want to thank Viola for bringing this concept out here and using this space and displaying your artworks.
Thank you guys all for coming. I feel like I see so many faces that I know, and I really appreciate everyone coming. Thank you also to Taragaon, Roshan, and your team. It's been coming to this place. The architecture is so incredible, but it's been really lovely to kind of dream up an intervention in architecture that's this beautiful. I'd also love to thank the U.S. Embassy and the Fulbright Commission for helping make this possible. It's really been exciting for me to just come and spend time in Nepal and kind of have questions like this. Also to Avash and Rojan and Kabir and Pujan, who are assistants on this project, who really helped me make this possible. Sonu and Gunraj, who are sitting over there, who are some of the main weavers that worked on this project with me. And then, they're sitting there, but, and then Maya, for helping think through kind of all of this and dream up what is possible. The Knotcraft Center works with over 15 or 20 indigenous communities across Nepal, and they're really passionate about maintaining kind of Nepali culture through systems of weaving. So when I came, I'm a sculptor. I'm really interested in touch and the way we touch objects and the way we think through our hands and through touch. And that brings up a question of material and what is the material you're touching? And that brings up a question of where did it come from and what's the history of it and what's happening with it. This exhibition behind me is exploring water hyacinth or jalakumbi, which is an invasive species, and its relationship with cattail, which is the native species that it's ousting. And so this weaving is made of both materials, but it's thinking through as well what happens to an ecosystem when one thing comes in and what happens to the native system that's already in place. So a lot of the weaving was inspired by Knotcraft Center and the weavers out in Kochitapu who are actually harvesting jalakumbi and getting it out of the environment, and then with this kind of waste material, they're thinking through new systems of weaving. So what they're doing is actually really, really innovative for me. So I wanted to work with these materials and start to think about that relationship between those two ideas, this invasive and this native plant, and thinking of just extrapolating those, what is it for me as a foreigner to come in and to work with an indigenous system that's much older than I am and much more considered and much kind of longer lasting. So it's been really a privilege to go see what they do, and then to work with people who have a much deeper kind of knowledge and relationship with this material.